Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Here is one of a few crazy stories I encountered while working at a popular fast food chain 2 years ago. So, for clarification, the chain I worked for, I was there for about a year and a half at a drive-thru. It only had one lane at the time, and we had experimented with many ideas on how to speed the whole process to make it easier for the customers. One method was to have an extra lane jerry-rigged with cones that semi-circled through the parking lot following the path of a normal drive-thru lane. This worked fairly well, but made it tougher on the employees having to dodge impatient soccer moms and carry huge orders back and forth. But all in all, it was doing fine. On the shift I worked, I was placed as a runner. I managed the second lane by taking payment, bringing change, and carrying the order out. Simple. Since we had double the traffic, at this point food was pretty slow. Not terrible, but not great. Anyways, we occasionally got the obnoxious customer. Cheap, impatient, entitled, ratchet racist. Nothing new, but that day, I encountered something incredible. A level 10 customer. Someone who had zero respect for anyone. I started off by asking if his name was X to clarify his order when he pulled up and he just about ran over my foot with his 1998 beater Civic. A certified jerk. Let's call him Richard from now on. I stepped back and asked again. He kinda brushed me off, so I assumed it was just the correct order and gave him the total, like $10 and change. He gave me a crisp $100 bill. Just to elaborate, when you start working there, you're told to always check with a manager for bills above 50. Now, I have been there for a while and handled lots of cash in past jobs. I could tell a fake from a real one with no issues without the testing marker or the bill checker machine. So, right when he handed me the 100 bill, I knew it was fake. Now me, being a bored teenager, I wanted to cause some trouble. So, as I was walking away, I decided to get his license plate. I walked up to the register window and told him to write it down and call the cops. I also told my manager to check and confiscate the counterfeit bill. This all happened pretty quick, mind you. Richard starts shouting at me not 2 minutes later, calling me names and how he's a busy man and doesn't have time for this crap. I went back over and gave him some crabby excuse in my suck-up customer service voice. Yes sir, my apologies. Give us just a minute, okay? Our kitchen is having trouble keeping up right now. I'll throw in some extra fries for your troubles. That seemed to calm him down for a second. When I got back to the window, my manager said it was indeed a fake and the cops were on their way, all going according to plan. While this was happening, he again started shouting and yelling, demanding my freaking money. I did my best to console him, just trying to buy time. I asked him to pull up and come inside and we will give him discounts for the future. Richard was out of his car at this point screaming and stomping around, but decided it was worth it. So he came into the store again, being loud and stomping around. That's when he saw the cop cars pull up. The restaurant has a lot of grass, and you can see right through it from most angles. The look on his face was priceless. He turned so quickly and awkwardly sprinted/walked back to his car. Before he got inside the store, we had motioned the cops toward his car, blocking him in. He was caught with nowhere to run. I was still outside and I could hear him shouting. He was yelling and threatening me and my co-workers. I guess my menacing grin gave it away that it was us that caused this. After dear Richard was in cuffs and stuffed in a cop car, I was pulled inside. I had to speak to the cops and tell them the details of what happened. They asked if I would comply and give a statement in court if they needed it, and mentioned that this guy had multiple warrants and was somewhat dangerous. I of course agreed without hesitation. So yeah, that's the story of how I caught a criminal. I want to start off by saying that I work in a hospital. So due to this and HEPA, I will be altering names of all the characters in our little play. With that being said, I happen to work security for a hospital in the town I live in. Let's call it Lutherton, home of the kin turtle wild Canadians. I know, they are weird. We are contracted out by our employer to the local hospitals. Usually, we have 3 shifts: 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., and my shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next day. During my shift, usually we have homeless individuals come in saying that they are hurt, but in reality they just want some sleep in their rooms. This is actually alright, except because of COVID, the nursing staff is not having it. This is not as important because our main player, Karen, the old hag, always comes in on the ambulance. Basically, whenever she comes in, she stays for about 3 hours, gets discharged, and then sits in the waiting room. We are always called to escort her out, and it always ends up with the cops being called on her. She always has the same excuse: I can't walk. I don't have kneecaps. You try walking without kneecaps. This goes on and on. To be fair for her, she does walk with a cane. However, we always remind her that she did just walk from her bed to the waiting room and that the nursing staff was walking with you to make sure you don't fall. Whenever she feels like she's going to lose her battle, she will throw her cane at anyone close to her and throw herself on the ground. Mind you, this lady is like 87 years old and she acts more like a child than my 3-year-old niece. During the night, we had a hold for a patient that was prone to hurting themselves. We just sit outside the room to make sure they don't either hurt themselves or make a run for it. It's policy that involuntary holds cannot leave until our mental health finds them a bed anywhere. We always alternate every 2 hours to make sure none of us get burned out. Plus, we have these things called posts, where we are supposed to be for 2 hours anyway. Karen came in on the ambulance as per her usual. Mind you, it's raining heavily, so when the ambulance picked her up, she was soaked from head to toe. According to the nurses, she was also very drunk. Karen plus alcohol equals disaster. Once she gets into her room, Glenda, the good nurse, might as well go all out here, walks in and gets vitals and asks what happened. The ER tech, Bob the Builder, starts to get her the scrubs she get issued to change into. Karen throws a fit. She yells at the nurses because Bob the Builder is male. She claims that earlier that night she was assaulted, so she doesn't want any male persons near her. Understandable, so they oblige. Only problem now is that she's falling back on her "I have no kneecaps," so she doesn't have to wear her scrubs. Great. Let's just stay naked and let the entire ER see you, lady. Midway through the shift, our newer officer called over the radio for us to come into the ER for a disruptive patient. We had no idea that Karen was in the hospital until me and the old guy walked back there. We walked to the monitor tech, who has been working in healthcare for like 60 years. Mrs. Nancy looks at us with the "I'm gonna kill someone, y'all better stop me" look. The old guy says, "What's going on, Mrs. Nancy?" And then we heard it. "I am not putting on my clothes because I can't. I can't bend my knees." "Karen, you have to put your clothes on." "No. Are you going to put it on me? I don't want you touching me." The old guy and I just looked at each other and rolled our eyes and sighed heavily. He went to talk to her, and I stayed outside the room providing cover. I talked to the nurses and found out what had happened. I thought nothing of it, so I waited until old guy was done talking to her, and once he was done, Mrs. Nancy wanted us to walk around the ER every 30 minutes or so. The shift is almost over and it's now my turn to sit on hold. I'm about 3 beds down when she starts screaming and hollering once she gets the discharge paperwork. This is basically the ER stating, "We have done everything and diagnosed and we recommend that you are stable enough to go home." Well, Karen was not having any of this. I get on a radio and call for the rest of the officers to come back to the ER. They walk up to me, ask what's going on, and all I do is point to the room she's in and say, "Might need to handle that." Sure enough, she decided she was not leaving, and she threw her cane at Glenda, the good nurse. Because this happened, policy dictates that when a patient strikes a staff member, local law enforcement is called. Not a minute goes by and 4 squad cars pulls up lights and sirens blaring. This was funny to me because they just casually walked in like, "Hey guys, I heard y'all needed us." Once they heard her screaming, Officer Big Bay looks at the staff and just asks, "Is that the Karen?" "Yep." "You gotta be kidding me." He proceeds to rip open the curtain and at the top of his lungs, "Karen, get out right now before you go to jail." Karen is not budging though. She argues back and forth with the officer about how she was assaulted, how she cannot walk, how she cannot bend her knees, how she cannot get her pants on, and they even gave her the option to put the gown on. Officer Bigby nonchalantly states, "Karen, I saw you walking not 6 hours ago. Why are you being like this?"
You're a freaking liar.
Karen tells him. Fun fact, you can call cops a lot of different things. I know because I used to be a deputy in the other K-state. Pig, weirdo, bad C-word, coward, baby killer, we can take it in stride. But you do not call us liars and think you're about to win an argument. So you're telling me that my body cam, the dash cam, and the rear dash on my patrol vehicle are lying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I am saying that you are a liar.
She was told that she had been discharged, and if she refused to leave, she would be charged with trespassing and disorderly conduct. It took all of 30 seconds for all 4 officers to go into that room and handcuff her and place that gown on her body for transport. They threw all her belongings into bags and she was escorted outside. The old guy came and relieved me from my post, and as I walked by the ambulance entrance doors, I could see the cops laughing and talking about their next post, while she was in the back of the squad car with her head down, mouthing to herself. Honestly, as many times as we have to deal with her, it's nice when she leaves. It gets really silent at night, and that is the way we like it. They are now working on a warrant for repeated trespassing and harassment of hospital employees. So this isn't my story, but it happened to a friend of mine who I recently talked to the other night. The cast, my buddy, the good guy, Karen, hellspawn, manager, and the nice cop. Anyways, on with the experience. Apparently my friend was on his way to get groceries in his 1980 Mustang that was willed to him by his deceased uncle. His uncle never had kids. He was happy to have been able to sell off his old junker and use the money from the car he had into getting this 1980s Mustang up to date and fixed in whatever way possible. It looked great. Silver with black stripes down the middle and black pin striping, all done by his uncle who was once a mechanic and car painter. So he goes and gets his week's worth of groceries, some sweets, stuff for work lunches, stuff for dinner and so on. Imagine a bachelor's shopping cart with some of everything for the next week or two. Anyways, he's about ready to check out and notices he needs to get milk and eggs for breakfast. Quickly runs back to the milk section and notices there is only 1 skim milk left, but is happy to take it. Karen walks up to him.
Oh, thank God, you're stuck in the fridge. Here, you can just give that one to me.
No ma'am, this is the last one and I'm taking it. Also, I don't work here.
Oh well, you should still let me have it as my angel here needs milk to grow up big and strong,
she said, gesturing to her hellspawn who's giving him a rude look. Okay. There is like almond milk or whatever, but I've been out of milk for a week and I need some for this week. Maybe try another store? There is XYZ place a mile away. Try there.
No, I need it now. You'll give it to me or I will call the police.
Fine, do it. I am leaving to check out. Do whatever you want.
Mommy, he's taking my milk.
As he's walking off, they are talking and screaming about something, maybe trying to convince the brat that they have to go somewhere. He doesn't care. He just wants to remove himself from the situation as soon as possible. He goes and checks out, not seeing Karen or her demon anywhere, and makes his way to his car. He's about halfway unloading his groceries when he can hear the kid yelling to his mom. Oh no, she has come out of the store. So he picks up his pace a little, and I'm laughing hearing this over the phone, guessing what's gonna happen next, thinking she will curse him out for being selfish and then speeding off. But oh boy was I wrong. She walks up to him with her cart and the hellspawn in tow, and she says,
"Wow, is this your car?"
Yes ma'am. My uncle, she cuts him off.
That's not possible. You must have stolen it. There is no way a punk like you could afford a car like this. I should have it. So how much you…
And now he cuts her off. Excuse me? No, this is my car. Now get out of here.
Don't you dare. How dare you raise your voice at me? I am calling the police for harassment.
Fine by me, do it. Let's see how the cops want to interoperate this. He finishes unloading his groceries and quickly puts his cart in the cart return. About 3 minutes goes by and a police car shows up. The nice cop comes out and says, "What's going on?" I was told there was a disturbance. My friend started saying, "Yeah, she..." But of course she cuts in.
Oh, thank God you're here, officer. This punk was trying to steal my husband's car.
The cop turned to my friend and asked if this was true. My friend looked at him and said, "No, it's not. She's making stuff up since I probably pissed her off for taking the last milk in the store and now she's being..."
No, he's lying. He tried to take my husband's car while I was looking away, and he's upsetting my baby. Arrest him now, officer.
"Sir, what she's saying isn't true." "Okay, well, who has the keys?" From there, let's see what the license and registration all say. And I'll even run the plate to make sure. So my buddy does exactly that. Produces the keys, unlocks the car door, pulls out all the information, and the nice cop runs everything. After a few minutes, he sees that his car is indeed his and Karen was lying. "Ma'am, this is his car. What you've done is highly illegal." "Sir, has she been harassing you since you were in that store?" "Yes, sir. Ask the manager to look at the tapes." They do exactly that and the manager is happy to comply. From there, the officer puts Karen in cuffs, not because my buddy wanted to press harassment charges on her, but she was arrested for abusing emergency services, filing a false police call or something, he wasn't too sure, disturbing the peace and resisting arrest. Sadly, his ice cream melted in his trunk, but he said it was worth the cost of admission to watch a Karen get taken down a pig and put in cuffs. I am 42-year-old male and my daughter 16 has a midday band field trip that she wants to go on during school in a couple of weeks. I know this because she sent me a picture of the permission slip and asked if she could sign my name. I said no, bring it home because I don't want you forging my signature and it's not due back for a week, so there is time. Several days have passed since then and I've yet to see the form. It's due soon and I'm sure my daughter will forget until the last minute and then sign my name on it. I know about the trip and I don't mind her going. Would I be the jerk if I still grounded her for forging my signature? And now with some comments on a post. One commenter says, "You can already see this coming. Why aren't you talking to her about it? This is a parenting moment. Instead of waiting to spring the trap on your daughter, recognize she's a fallible 16-year-old human and remind her you expect to see the form." Another commenter adds, "You are the jerk. Are you setting your child up for a gotcha moment? The simple thing to do is tell her to remember to bring the permission slip home so you can sign it. If she doesn't and signs for you, there will be consequences. Otherwise, it's kind of a jerk thing to do." A third commenter goes with, "You're the jerk. You are actively planning for your child to make a mistake and then as a result do something against your wishes. If you can see it coming rather than planning a punishment in advance, help her better organize her schedule. There is a lot more value in getting someone into a habit of doing things properly with guidance than punishing them and expecting them to learn from it in the future." Update from OP. Hi all, I appreciate everyone's responses. The overwhelming majority made me believe that I would be the jerk and that this is a very preventable situation. I've decided to remind her to let me sign the form and I'll say a word or two about forgery as a whole. It's better to be proactive than reactive.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.